Welcome, everybody. We are here with the Metro Vancouver Secondary School Esports for this great game of Vantech versus Burnaby North. And Team 1 is actually going to be Burnaby North, and Vantech is Team 2, so I totally messed up the order there, but that doesn't matter because currently both teams are at 6-1, trying to fight to be tied for first place right now, which is going to be really cool to see. A lot of people have been hyping up this matchup, so it's going to be really nice to watch them go off. And so first off, starting out, we got those Victor ban going out, assuming these are all directed bans, because while I do not know who plays who on each team, I can tell you that you're not going to be banning Victor unless it's specifically for somebody on the side of Vantech. I'm assuming that's for the Edergrag Victor. Yone also could be taken off the table, which in general makes sense. If we're banning out control mages on one side, you don't want to ban out what potentially could be a big issue for control mages. And so, now we got the Kaisa ban. That one's pretty obvious. Has anyone ever played solo queue for more than 5 minutes? They would know that Kaisa, they'd find a way to fight 3 Kaisas in those 5 minutes somehow, because that champion is in every game, if not banned. Honestly, at this point, I would not be surprised if Kaisa made it through banning phase after getting banned, because she's just in every game. But either way, so first pick is going to the favor of Burnaby North. And we're going to be seeing what No Sleep will grab himself for his team. We do have jungler bans on both sides as the final bans. So the Graves and the Kha'Zix. Obviously, one's more of a scaling jungler and one's more of an aggressive jungler who can definitely go in. Not to say that either of them are we playing passive, though. I definitely don't assume that. Especially when we see Nautilus and Jhin immediately locked in. 2 very aggressive champions from the get-go. And so now, we gotta see what else they might be drafting, potentially. Maybe they're just gonna look to immediately get themselves a bot lane going on, which could potentially be the case with that Karma pickup, though, of course, it could be a side lane Karma, depending on what the rest of the draft speaks for. But so far, it doesn't seem like there's too much to talk about in terms of these drafts, as there's only a few, obviously. Karma can definitely speed up that Jhin, which is very nice, because, you know, Jhin, historically, is a champion that does very well with champions that buff his movement speed, and Karma does exactly that with her empowered buffs that she can give to the Jhin. On the other hand, we have what looks like definitely suited to be for 5v5s with the Nautilus and the Aatrox, and especially the Karthus. If there's one thing I'm a little bit concerned about is because Aatrox knockups are not point and click like Nautilus, it could be difficult to catch something like the Jhin. He might have to be delegated to more of a peeling role in these fights, especially also with Karthus, who can also be very good for area of control. Nautilus, on the other hand, with that point and click ultimate, it doesn't matter how fast you go, that ultimate is going to catch you down regardless. Oh, are we getting a go fast team? Is that what's going on? So we definitely lock in that Hecarim, and yeah, we got maximum speed going on the side of Vantech. Ain't that funny? And so immediately banning out that Yasuo 100% makes sense, because you got Aatrox for the knockup setup, you got Nautilus for the knockup setup, so definitely something to keep in mind of. And we're going to see what Burnaby is going to ban out themselves. The answer is going to be the Rengar, which makes sense when you think of it in a matchup sort of view, because Rengar historically very, very aggressive and very good at invading champions, and unless you have amazing control with Karthus' clear, it is very easy for just a Rengar to jump on you over and over again. And the Lucian banned out, which I can see just being more of a counter to Ernest as the AD carry player. So we'll see how it goes. And then they're thinking long and hard for their final ban. It's going to be the Vladimir, which can definitely negate a lot of this crowd control that they have drafted themselves. And it does mean when they have something like the Karma, who has those movement speed buffs, it's definitely good to ban out something that doesn't have that much mobility itself, because if they can get in position with that Karma, basically their shortcomings as a champion is nullified because you have that Karma, because you have that great engage with the Hecarim and the Jin, Curtain Call, and all of that. So Aurelia is also going to be locked in, and I'm assuming this is probably going to be an Aurelia top for the Aatrox matchup, because Aurelia definitely has a very good matchup into that Aatrox, provided that she knows how to play it, and knowing that her Q dash can send herself behind the Aatrox, making it very difficult to land those sweet spots. That said, it is not an impossible matchup, so if it is going to be that Aurelia Aatrox matchup, you could be seeing a potential chance of Aatrox doing just fine. Ernest, on the other hand, he's going to be looking for that Caitlyn with the Nautilus. As far as hook champions are concerned, I would say Nautilus is definitely best suited with the Caitlyn because of the fact that his passive is a root, which perfectly set ups for those Caitlyn traps. On the other hand, though, basically Rolf is going to lock a Akali for Viodetta, and is going to be countered out by what is probably a Galio mid. I actually really like this pickup, because when you have a team with the Karma, who has, of course, empowered Qs, you have the Jin, the Hecarim, Aurelia, all these high damage champions with also good self-sustain, like the Hecarim Aurelia, then you do want something a little bit more utility focused with that Galio. And it makes it so that these placements for these grand entrances from the Galio are perfect, as they can run straight to the enemy team and just place it down immediately. And so either way, though, you definitely have a very good 5v5 team on the other side of Vantech. Burnaby North, they also have a great sieging comp, though. They have the Karthus and the Aatrox that very much are accustomed to having really good skirmishes and just controlling a certain lane, so they're definitely going to be looking for 5v5s themselves. As far as the early pace of the matchup, Akali Galio, it's kind of difficult to get any sort of huge advantage on either side. It's probably going to just be stonewalled. I can definitely see Hecarim, the not Apollo, looking towards top lane to shut down this Aatrox, as he is also going to likely have some sort of advantage against this Karthus, who needs that time to scale, and definitely will have difficulty landing skill shots against such a fast-moving horse. But either way, we will be moving to an intermission as we get ready for Spectator Delay to finish up, and then we'll see you guys soon. Thank you. Alright, here we are. Looks like a great day on the Summoner's Rift. Okay, that was cringe, what the heck. Isn't it always a good day on the Summoner's Rift? I mean, it's always sunny, the grass is always green, but at the same time, everything's like all stony and stuff, but that's besides the point. We can see, as a unit of 5 already, we got Van Tech moving together, potentially catching out No Sleep, but at the same time, they don't really have much pick potential. They don't have any hooks on their side. I mean, the only hook champion in this game is the Nautilus on Burnaby North, controlled by basically Wolf, so it's going to be a little bit of an inch from the other side if they can find anything, and so they immediately caught off this potential invade. And they're just going to go for these standard lane assignments, nothing too crazy. After all, we haven't really seen anything like... I guess we have seen funneling, so I'm not entirely wrong, but there's no funnel scenes going on here. We're looking for aggressive gameplay. None of this slow the game down, just farm. And so, as like I said about that early agency, Aurelia's definitely going to be looking for engages when she hits that level 2. And so Good Roll, it's up to Good Roll to really control this matchup. And not Apollo, even though he doesn't have flash, he can still set up perfectly for Good Roll to get that tower dive and get a huge lead. And so it's going to be difficult for Think Critically to just save his team from just complete disaster, as his gank assist is possible, and he can counter gank for sure, but if he gets caught out in the first skirmish, he's just going to die. And yes, he has the Karthus passive, but when you're this squishy, you can die so quickly that all that damage you do in the passive just doesn't matter at all. The mid lane, on the other hand, I was talking about it already, that it's just going to be much of a stonewall lane. And so if we're going to be seeing action, it's definitely not going to be the mid lane. It's going to be pretty much everywhere else. And so Not Apollo already moving towards his blue side, as Think Critically is moving to his own red side, which might mean that we could be seeing something happening in this bot lane, as with Nautilus and Karma as a character by nature is just going to be pushing up 24/7. On the other hand, basically Wolf is playing Nautilus, and Nautilus as a champion is great for gank assist and threatening people to be under tower because it's more safe than being right out in the open. And so with this sort of like ping pong going on where they're pressuring each other, it does make it potentially something going on for just a 3v3 amongst the teams. That said though, you could see Not Apollo potentially looking for an invade of his own, but he wasn't able to find anything, as Think Critically had already cleared his red buff. And No Slave gonna take some damage into this lane, but that's to be expected. He can't really do anything in the 1v1 this early on, so long as Good Roll plays this properly. And so it's up to him to really just stay back and just try getting as much farm as he can and look for gank assistance. Which, again, is going to be difficult when you have a Hecarim who is going to be having this early pacing. That said, though, of course, the mid-game fights with this Karthus is going to be very nice. Yes, you have the Karma shields, but that's about it as far as pure defense. I guess the Galio shield, too, could be nice, but either way, I feel like Karthus is just in general going to be really good into this team, as they don't really have any hard tanks. They have, I mean, Galio is most definitely going to be going AP. No one really builds tank Galio nowadays. The Hecarim, yeah, he's going to be somewhat tanky, but it's mostly going to be armor, not MR. And Karma only really just has the shield to protect herself, and so if Karthus can farm up nicely and find some of these Dark Harvest stacks, it's going to be great for him with that Requiem. You can see actually something interesting for the start for JJ though. He went for the boots force pot start. I mean, if you're gonna get boots with any champion, it's going to be Jhin. I mean, you can definitely get agency though against something like the Nautilus, so long as you don't get hooked yourself, because you have the Karma. She already gives a ton of movement speed, and you can use her as your disengage. And so I feel like a Doran's Blade would have just been perfectly fine. You didn't really have to go the super defensive, conservative route. And yeah, sure, Caitlyn does poke out champions with shorter range like the Jhin, but when you don't have like a poke support on the other side, I mean, it's not really going to matter that much in the early game, especially when you have that Karma, again, with the shields and her own counter poke. So I'm not so sure about this start on the side of JJ. Now on the top lane, the CS for a while was even, which is nice to see Aatrox not fall behind too much. It does look like he is falling behind now, but that's because you have a huge wave going on. So if he's able to get any of these without dying, that's going to be great for him. And judging by the position of where Not Apollo is, it does look like he's going to get this wave just fine. He already has himself an Executioners, which is going to be nice against that Hecarim and Aurelia. And when you have Aurelia who has a lot of early game healing, that's perfectly fine. Now, Think Critically is here, going to assist No Sleep. The 5 stacks is up, but there's no healing on the side of this Aurelia. And so, First Blood going to be going to Think Critically. So Not Apollo on the other side of the map, instead of potentially answering this all-in. I was talking about how this could be a situation for the 3v3, but Think Critically just says, screw that, I'm just gonna make it the 2v3 as Not Apollo is nowhere to be found to match. They weren't able to get anything really per se though. You can see the CS is essentially the same. And so what that essentially just is just a free Dark Harvest stack and a free kill for Karthus. That said though, he could be caught out here. The exhaust will save his life for a while. Hold up, hold the phone actually. That should be potentially a kill. The Requiem is going to go off, and that is a second Dark Harvest stack. No, she is going to live with just a sliver of health. And so Aurelia getting himself a pickup. And Think Critically, and I was not gonna lie, even though there was no ultimate on the side of good roll, it was kind of funny to see the Karthus with exhaust just almost solo this duelist. Of course, almost doesn't quite mean yes you did, so Aurelia is going to get himself her own gold to speak of. And so things are going to calm down yet again a little bit. You know, not as aggressive as a matchup as I thought it would. Maybe because it's such a high-stake match, as both of them are fighting for the same position on the standings, they could be a little bit more hesitant on doing something. But it could also just be a testament of both of these players playing very well with their defensive gameplay. You can see they're not overextending too much, aside from that one Aurelia and Karthus little goof up. And so the Dragon play is going to be called out. You do have the Galio already rotating. On the other side, though, Viodetta already has Prio for that wave. But that said, Think Critically not really in position to do anything, as Ernest and basically Wolf look to instead just push out further and potentially get themselves a back. So kind of just a free Drake. And while first Drakes usually, they definitely aren't the most important starting out, because it does mean a lot of time was lost. You can see the Karthus is up a camp or two on Not Apollo. That said though, when it's that quick and that uncontested, the first Drake is quite nice. Especially when it's something like the Ocean, which is perfect when you have a Caitlyn who's just going to poke you down over and over again. And so it gives Jhin more of a footing in this matchup. As Lil Weenie, you know, gonna get a few more of these Magic Qs out, but Nautilus is a big boy, so it's not gonna take too much damage for that one. And actually, Not Apollo now looking to set himself up with the Galio. Galio's rotating as well, so No Sleep. It's up to really him to play this one out, because Think Critically is on the other side of the map looking for his own action. There's the stun going out for No Sleep, and here comes the Galio charging his way in. On the other side of the matchup, though, we have your own fight going on. Viodetta is going to catch out Good Bro, and the bot lane from the other side is going to make it out. Viodetta just going to have to execute her way out to safety. And so, at the end of the day, it is going to be a 1-for-1 from that top lane. Wait, actually, the Requiem is going to go off, and so think critically, he's going to make that a 2-for-1 for the side of Burnaby North. And another Dark Harvest stack to boot. I was talking already about how Karthus is going to be doing a lot of damage, but when you're 2-in-1 already, it was, okay, not up camps anymore, but having those Dark Harvest stacks to begin with, yeah, like, this Karthus is going to be very, very scary as time goes on. It is a little bit early, though, so we're not quite at that Doomsday Karthus just yet, where he's just going to flash in the middle of the team. Well, he doesn't have flash, but let's say, metaphorically, he's going to flash into the middle of the team, use the lay waste, and just completely shut down the other side of the team. Speaking of which, though, the lay waste and just the more area control that Karthus has, it might not be too big of an issue to deal with when you have all this movement speed on the side of Vantech. They did draft this team thinking about getting that movement speed going with the Hecarim and the Jhin and the Aurelia too, honestly. And obviously Galio can just ult his way into a fight either way, so it can be possible for Think Critically to mess this up. There is no Locklet, most likely going to be bought on the side of Vantech, which is nice. There's no real item counter, it's just more so going to be these champion counters at the end of the day. As for the mid lane, I was talking about this already, it's just going to be a Stonewall lane. And oh wow, actually nice bait from Good Rolls, bringing out that World Ender from the Aatrox, which means that she is going to have that ultimate advantage. Think critically, though, in a potentially sticky situation, the Exhaust can only do so much when you have two big, beefy frontliners in your face, and there goes the Karthus. And that's exactly what I've been wanting to see from the side of Vantech, is to just not respect this Karthus at all, and just be in their face. And so, nice pickup on the side of Vantech. They are still down in gold, though, and so they do have to look for potentially more plays. You can see actually them rotating to the bot side, but I mean, there's no way they're going to make this work when they were spotted out years ago. The dragon is being called down soon, though, and it is a mountain one. And so that means it's going to be either a Cloud or an Inferno. And if it's a Cloud, when you have a team that loves movement speed, oh boy, it's going to be a bit of a predicament. Let me tell you something. So I'm sure that they are just absolutely praying. Burnaby North, they are just praying it's going to be an Infernal Soul, if anything. Especially when you have the Karthus, who loves Infernal Soul, just able to proc that so easily with his kit. And the Aatrox with the AoE from the Infernal Soul, of course, and the easier execution for the Akali. And so things slow down just a little bit again. These guys, I was talking about this earlier, it's a lot less scrappy gameplay going from these teams. It's a lot more coordinated, and therefore a lot more like coordinated fights going on. And you can see, yeah, again, all this coordination, the teleport going in from the Galio, and they're able to just take out basically Wolf before they can even really react on the side of Burnaby North. And so Vantech now, they're looking for what looks like a free mountain for themselves. I mean, on the other side of the map, you can see Think Critically, he's not even thinking about that one. They did get themselves the Rift Herald, though, but plates are over, so the usefulness of that Herald itself is not really going to be much unless they can get something going on for No Step. But with that ward being spot out, they might not even be able to get any towers. Okay, they are looking to try this either way. Think Critically is going to get stunned up, but there might not be an exhaust on the side of the Karthus, but there is a big Aatrox ready to defend his friend. That said, though, you can see, yeah, again, just nothing at all. On the other side, though, we have JJ taking a lot of punishment. The ace in the hole is going to go out, but fortunately going to be blocked out. JJ, though, is going to eat that Requiem. Should be just fine. Yes, he is. I don't even think he actually got a Harvest deck from that because of the Karma Shield. And so there you go. Karma Pig showing its worth by blocking out that Requiem from what is going to be having that Leandries already on the Karthus. Before the top laners have finished any of their items, though granted they did both finish Executioners because these are both very healing heavy champions. And so it is going to be the Infernal Soul. I'm sure sighs of relief from the side of Burnaby North. And we are starting to get these first item power stacks from pretty much everyone now, not just the junglers. You can see the mid lane is equalized pretty much in items. The bot lane is pretty equalized. I mean, there is a Kuna Shard advantage on the side of the Caitlyn, but other than that, it's nothing too significant. The top lane pretty even item-wise as well. I mean, the boots is going to pretty much nullify the Iron Spike whip from the side of No Sleep. And that Vampiric Scepter is going to be pretty much the same in terms of worth to the Kindle Gem. That said, though, the Recurve Bow is going to give himself a nice temporary lead until No Sleep just comes up and just gets himself his own items. That said, though, Eddie Gregg is charging on to this Akali. Viodetta is stuck in her own shot, but the teleport from the side of No Step is going in. Here comes the Aatrox to save his Akali, but she is going to fall before she can do anything. And now the Aatrox is now in potential danger himself. Yes, he is going to fall down, and that is going to be potentially first tower going to the side of Vantech. You can see them charging for it. They do have a decent enough wave, which means that yes, first tower is going to go to Vantech. And I was talking about this high movement speed team. You saw there right there. You saw it right there, folks. Just went in perfectly. The Requiem going to be called out, but that is just going to be for a Dark Harvest deck. Basically, Wolf... Oh, no! There goes the Dredge line. And Nautilus... Oh! Actually, the last second... Gale Force, and that does mean that there's no kill to be found. Basically, Wolf is not going to be hit by any more of those curtain calls, and is going to walk away with his own life, fortunately, but darn. Just barely going to escape with the skin of his teeth for JJ. Well timed with that Gale Force. So things are going to slow down for a little bit right now, as we do still have a full minute to wait until the Drake comes back up. The Inferno is going to be nice for both sides, but especially, you know, like I was talking about, with that Karthus, it's going to be huge for him. That being said, though, the Rift Herald is not going to be picked up likely from either of these teams. So, once again, both these teams are going to be favoring more of these bot lane advantages, because Rift Herald, very nice. It's a very nice team objective, but when it's past 14 minutes when the plates are down, it definitely can be hit or miss in terms of value, because if you don't get a tower from one charge, the real worth of it is basically just the initial kill of it. That said, though, Viodetta is going to be caught out yet again from the entire team, and this is just before Drake is spawning too, mind you, so 4-0 for not Apollo, and is going to look very nice for this Drake pickup. Once again, think critically, just has to head to the other side of the map and try to get himself some gold in his pocket, but when it's going to be soul point, I don't think that's the best call, honestly. I feel like he should be contesting this. Yeah, it might be a 4v5, but when it's a Drake like this, it's so critical to give up. And you really need to just prevent this one, but that said, though, they do make the call as a collective team to just say, we'll fight for that soul point, and we'll fight to get the 4 Infernals If there's any saving grace, though, on the side of Burnaby North, Carthus is soon going to be finishing his second item, which does mean that he is going to be online very, very nicely, because he's going for the double burn build, as we like to call. And so, it seems like they're just going to be waiting for all of their power spikes. On the other side, you have the Hecarim already almost done what looks like going to be his Sterix gauge, which obviously is a very nice compliment for a bruiser like Hecarim. But this is going to be the kind of pace of the match we're probably going to be seeing until the next objective, and hopefully Viodetto doesn't get caught out immediately when it spawns, especially when it's going to be an infernal soul point for Burnaby North, so if it's one time to not get caught out, it would definitely be in 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Let me just tell you that. Think critically, you can see they're just basically funneling the Carthage, not giving up the buff for the Caitlyn, and just taking everything for himself. That said, though, 20 ACS, yes, it's a lot, but on the other side, you have Aurelia up even more farm on the Aatrox, and so, yeah, there's a nice farm advantage for the Carthus, but they're starting to go down in gold. They're actually up in gold on the side of Burnaby North for quite a while, but Vantech able to bounce that around. Of course, the gold lead only means so much when you have three Drakes as well, as long as just them being online as a team comp in general. I mean, we already have the Moonstone completed for Blowweenie. We have a lot of components for JJ, albeit Ernest is pretty much even in that regards too, if not much stronger actually. And we have a lot of control in this Baron river, as well as actually the bot river as well. You can see all of these red wards coming out for Vantech. And so, it feels like this game is just slowly slipping out of the hands of Burnaby. I mean, they don't have too much super hard engage. Yes, they have the Nautilus, but when you have such a fast-paced team, how easy is it to just get something like that dredge line on someone? Even the ultimate, yeah, it's a point and click, but when everyone comes at you in Mach 10, you can only knock up so many people and peel so many people for this Caitlyn. It does feel like a very sticky situation. In general, so yeah, things are just gonna slow down for the next Drake. Like I was saying for the 20th time in a row, because they really are slowing down. I mean, the Drake is in 1 minute and 30, so the sort of lull state that's going on right now, where both teams are kind of just ping-ponging the waves back and forth, it should be over soon, and basically Wolf using that vintage to his advantage, as I was talking about all those red wards being perfectly all over the map, and there you go. Yet another kill for the Hecarim. Yeah, they're even in levels though, so at the very least, if the dragon were to spawn now, the smite will be at even strength. They're already looking to pressure this Baron though, and they are able to get some vision on their own jungle, Burnaby North, which is nice to see. But it's not the pit itself directly, and so actually we have what might be looking like a potential pick on this Caitlyn. Here comes the squad as they charge in the flash trade, but they are able to catch out the Caitlyn. Ernest is going to fall down to the Gale Force into the headshot by JJ. And there you go, that's going to be yet another great pick. This is so clean from the side of Vantech. Yes, it might not be the most exciting match ever. Yeah, it might not be a bloodbath, which some people might be signing up for, but they're also just playing so intelligently with their vision. And so it gets them these picks so nicely, and this one they definitely cannot just give up. I mean, the last one, they might have not given them immediate buffs, but it did threaten their soul. This one, on the other hand, is going to get them a massive buff when you have a team with this much damage. And here comes the team fight, engaged from not Apollo. The Galio isn't really hit anyone, but the Onslaught of Shadows is going to take on the two crucial targets. The Requiem is going to be called out, but all of these shields with the stairs and everything is going to make that completely nullified. And so I'm actually going to be ending up eating my words about earlier about this Karthus pick, because it feels like he's not going to be able to do anything against all of this shielding and all of these healthy targets with these drain-taking abilities. That being said, though, they are able to push away from the side of Vantech, and so that actually might just be... Yeah, okay, so it's going to be the reset. They're deciding not to start out this dragon. After all, the jungler is dead, so that would be pretty troll if they did start it up. But he is up soon, and pretty healthy health bars on the side of Burnaby North. So if they start this now, there could be a chance that they can have the Karthus be there in time to secure that objective. But the teleport from Good Roll is actually going to be called out, and so they are going to be forced off of this dragon, and what might have just been a thanks for the bleed situation, that was a great bullets too late from Good Roll, and the stolen Drake from Viodetta is going to counteract the soul. On the other side of it, though, the team fight is looking very much in the favor of Vantech, and they are able to get themselves 2 kills. Well, only 1 was lost. But most importantly, though, the soul was countered by that Akali, and they are able to give themselves a bit of a footing in this game. That AD is going to be very nice for the Caitlyn, and the AP going to be even nicer for something like the Akali, who can execute these crucial targets, provided that he is able to stay within his shroud, really. So given the state of the game that's been going on for this past while, it would be safe to say that things are going to be returning back to this lane clearing and lane holding until the next Drake spawns. Which, honestly, if you ask me, is going to favor the side of the Caitlyn, who is going to be scaling up very nicely with those items. And the Karthus, once he gets that death cap, which he's not getting now, but I can definitely see coming out as his 4th item, that's just going to make any shielding completely worthless when you're going to be ulting people for like 1,000 damage. And so, with the Caitlyn scaling up nicely, I feel like this sort of lull state that's going on is actually going to favor Burnaby North just fine. Because, I mean, this is a draft that we saw that's all about these picks and all about these engages, but when you dole it out like this, it makes it so your ability to go in is much more predictable. And when you can just turtle like this, you can just stay as a unit as 5, and it makes your pick potential much worse because you have to go against the entire team. I don't know, though. I'm not an expert, but that's my assumption. I don't think that just kind of just doling it out is the best play. You can see, though, they are starting to move together, so I guess they are listening to me and saying, alright, we're going to have to look for a pick, but fortunately for the side of Burnaby North, nothing is to be gained. And so it looks like we're going to be bouncing some waves even more back and forth. And so Greg, you know, going to get this wave himself too on the top side. But you know that, judging by how these teams are playing, he's not going to go past his own riverside. And yeah, there you go, he backs off, waits for Viodetta to calmly come back to lane and get ready to take that wave for himself. And Greg, you know, it doesn't matter there's a full AP Galio, you're still taking no damage. I mean, look at that. That was 3 Qs in a phase, and at the end of it, he took maybe like 400 damage at most. And so he's going to be like, ah, that tickles, and gonna back him. And maybe get himself a Morelos? Yes, it will be. So the Aatrox healing is basically going to be a non-factor, provided that... You can see Viodetta, my damage is insane already, as he is being countered by the 300 health that the Gallery has. And now he actually has another nice bit of health with the Morelos and that Oblivion Orb that was attached to the Morelos. So I can't say it's completely tankless, but again, it really just goes to show that it's a stonewall matchup. The Galio isn't really going to be hoping to kill the Akali anytime soon, as he can't catch her. But Viodetta, I mean, you gotta fight an anti-mage as an AP champion. Try to guess how that goes. As far as items are concerned, we can see a 2-item power spike being built out by No Step. That said, kind of an interesting pickup with Good Roll. I mean, you can see just these full lifesteal build with Immortal Shield Bow. Now, I haven't followed Aurelia's build in the past while, so it could have definitely changed to that. But I do know that prior to the nerfs, Gore Drinker was her best item. And so seeing something that is also oriented towards survivability and team fighting like the Immortal Shield Bow, I suppose makes sense when you have an item that's nerfed like the Gore Drinker, and is only really good on a handful of champions nowadays. I guess Olaf it's great on. It's pretty good on Rengar, I know that. Obviously it's good on Aatrox, but it's definitely not the powerhouse as it used to be, so... Good roll. Not looking to opt into that purchase. And instead it's going to be going for this very aggressive style. That said though, I really like that Executioner's pickup from No Sleep. You can see it going off when you have this full lifesteal side. That said though, look at this dragon, it's going down really fast, and that's the sole point. The flash engage going in, but here comes No Step trying to knock up the team, but Good Roll is trying to take down the back line. It's not able to, unfortunately. And there we go, the dragon potentially is going to be secured actually by the Hecarim. And so that is Infernal Soul. They are able to turn this fight around for themselves, and Peng's going out for the base. Now, it was looking actually really good for a second for Burnaby North in that team fight, but with that Inferno pick up from the Hecarim, it just completely turned around. And I was talking about it early. You want to deny that soul and shut down this Karthus, and now it's going to be such a sticky situation for this team because the Aatrox is not going to be tanky enough against a team that has the Executioners, that has the Morellos, and hold up, Viodetta is trying to find himself some sort of footing, but he immediately gets shut down by JJ, is unable to do anything, and now No Step is going to find his friend Irelia from that top lane matchup, and he's going to be falling down as well. And so Vantech with a huge swing of momentum. I mean, they were already playing very well for these picks, but when the 5v5 really went out, it went in their favor for sure. They were able to hold on long enough with that Irelia, and then after that Drake got secured, it was just all about that Jhin and the Galio with that Infernal Soul doing so much damage with that, with not Apollo. So it's going to be interesting to see the lane assignments, given that there's very good sieging control. I was talking about that earlier. Burnaby North is very good at sieging. I feel like a 1-3-1 would probably be desirable for the side of Vantech. I mean, we have the Galio, who has the ultimate. You have Irelia, who can definitely just shut down the Aatrox if he tries to play the game. And you have Jhin, you have Karma, who can definitely pick off anyone that might be out of position. So I definitely like that they're going for this 1-3-1 instead of just 5-balling it and doing a North Americans running around mid. Actually thinking about their matchup and their team composition and playing accordingly. So this is actually going to be very difficult to play around. There aren't many towers that have been taken down from Vantech, so it's very likely that they're not going to lose the game yet from this Baron power play, but it's still going to be such a huge swing in gold, because look at the gold lead. There's already a massive gold lead without taking out all the towers. They are still down towers, mind you. They're down 1 tower. And now with all of that gold being funneled from these tower takedowns, it feels like the game really is just gonna fall apart for the side of Vantech. Or sorry, not Vantech, Burnaby North. Vantech is on the completely end. They're doing great. And so here we go. Actually, going to meet up with the Irelia to take down this top tower. I like it because they do have that nice cannon just charging it down, and maybe they're just going to bounce right back to the mid wave because the wave is there already. Yep, you can see them already moving towards that mid wave as I speak. And so they're going to get themselves another tower nicely. So yeah, really nicely done in terms of the macro sense from the side of Burnaby. Sorry, not Burnaby, Vantech. And it feels like just the draft is just by the drafts, it's going to be very difficult for North to come back in. Yes, they have the Caitlyn who might be able to scale nicely, but I mean, yeah, 3 items, but if you're not going to be able to do much with 3 items already on Caitlyn, the chances of you doing anything with 5 items are not going to be that much nicer, honestly. Yeah, she's going to get some armor pen in that case, and even more crit chance to take down these beefy frontliners, but when they're just going to one-shot you instantly because the amount of peel on the side of Burnaby, or on Burnaby North, honestly, yeah, they have disengage, but they don't have protection, per se. So when you have such a high-speed team like Vantech, who is able to weave their way around this peel, they're just not going to do anything. This peel is just not going to matter because the Caitlyn's going to be caught out regardless, and she's just going to die because she has no protection. She doesn't have a Lulu, she doesn't have anything with Moonstone or Seraphine, or for that matter. And so Ernest, I feel like, is in a sticky situation because she has to find a way to attack these people, but how is she able to do so? Yeah, you're Caitlyn with great range and self-peel, but like, again, I was talking about that. You got the Karma charging in, you got the Hecarim charging in, so I don't know. I don't know how they can pull this off, because the Akali is essentially a non-factor in this game, and it's going to continue to likely be a non-factor against this beefy Galio. And it's going to be so hard for her to find any of these crucial targets when Jhin is so fast and able to just make his way away from these potential danger zones. And the Aatrox, again, is just not going to be nearly tanky enough when you have so much healing reduction on the side of Vantech. And in general, he only has 2 items still. He's looking to get a Bloodthirster, a Hydra, but I don't know about that, honestly, because there's so much healing reduction. I feel like just raw, tanky stats might favor him better in the long run. The Elder Drake is going to spawn, and the teleport from the Aurelia is going off, which does mean that no real side lane pressure is going to go off, but they are ready to 5v5 if they want to. You know that Burnaby does not want to give this one up, because at this point, when they are already having such a hard time fighting this team, try thinking about how hard it will be to fight when one auto from the Jhin takes their entire health bar. So really nice zoning over from Edigreg, and making it very difficult for the front line to really have much of a hold. Viodetta gets botted out nicely as well, and here comes a curtain call, and actually Nautipola finding a great flank position from the other side of the map, as the curtain call is going to take down even more, and Basic Oil is going to fall down as well. No sleep. He is able to catch something, but he's going to sleep forever now. Yeah, your name might be No Sleep, but I think you're definitely going to be falling asleep after that one. Viodetta, the only one left standing, but you know that's not going to matter. I mean, what's Nakali going to do to anyone? Yeah, maybe he'll take down Edigreg at best, because he's like 50 health, but what else is going to happen? JJ, you're not going to be able to do anything. Oh, actually, Little Weenie is going to be caught out, but with the death timers going out now, I think that's going to be the game itself. The wave is starting to stack up for them. Actually, no, they only have 1 cannon, but it doesn't matter. Good roll is going to take that one out for his team, and it just feels like the draft was just so perfectly done from the side of Vantech. They played it perfectly. They were not to be too aggressive until those crucial objectives spawn. While I feel like Burnaby, they couldn't siege very much, and they couldn't really find their footing in these important matchups. And so at the end of the day, it is going to be Vantech taking it away with the W, and is going to give themselves the lead in the standings against Burnaby North. So great job to them. I really like how they played. Yeah, it might not have been the most bloody game as some of the matchups we've seen, but we did see very smart play, very smart macro play, and it wasn't a complete smooth fest. Like, yeah, they were waiting for the objectives, but like they were waiting for it and then doing something like immediately. They didn't like just stall it out. And so at the end of the day, that's your matchup. There you go. This is Cyrect, and I'd like to thank you all for tuning in to the stream and this matchup. Hope you all have a great night, and GG's. See you guys later.